Hey, welcome back and welcome to the first episode of Me Versus. Today will be me versus the state of Texas GOP. Now, there are a lot of good people in Texas. I've known a lot of them. But the people that control that state are absolutely insane. As I've said before, Texas is becoming or is a Nazi state. But let's talk about why, right? Let's talk about their convention this weekend. Over the weekend, the state Republicans in Texas had a convention. Before the conventions even started, there was already controversy. Because right off the bat, they told the Log Cabin Republicans, a group of gay and LGBT Republicans, that they did not have a seat at the table. That they would not have a table at the convention. That they could not be there. That they were not invited. Now, one, I don't understand why anybody who is LGBTQ plus would ever be part of the Republican Party in this country. As much as they've shown over the last 40, 50 plus years that they hate you, I don't understand why anybody would vote Republican. But these people, everyone's different. So they voted for whatever reason for the Republicans all these years. Just to be told in Texas that they no longer had a seat at the table. Now, you would think, oh, well, they're just showing their true colors, right? And they are. Because they're being exactly who they are. Part of me is actually happy that they are saying the quiet part out loud now. That we finally get to see exactly how they feel about the community. Part of me, though, is sad because I know most Texans don't view it that way. Most Texans, Republican, Democrat, they don't care if you're gay. They don't care if you're a lesbian. They don't care if you're transgender. They don't care what your pronouns are. No, really, they don't care. Because you tell them, and they get it wrong anyway. They don't care. But the problem is, there is a large group of people in Texas that do. I still believe they're a minority of the country, of the state. I really do. I don't even think they're a majority of the Republican Party in the state. But those are at least the voters for the Republican Party. The problem is, the people that run the party in Texas have run further to the right than they ever have before. Now let's get into their platform, shall we? One, the platform requires Texas students to learn about the humanity of the preborn child, including teaching that life begins at fertilization and requiring students to listen to live ultrasounds of a gestating fetus. Now, if you want to talk about these things in a scientific way, I have no problem with it. But we all know how the Republican Party works, especially in Texas. They're not gonna do it with science, because science would tell you that is not life at fertilization. That it's not life. It's potential life. It's definitely potential life, but it's not life. You don't even have a pregnancy until that egg implants into the uterus. Period. There's no pregnancy before that point. Because from what I remember from science class in high school and the health classes I took in college, that there are a lot of fertilized eggs that never implant for whatever reason. I don't believe you should tell kids that they have to believe of when life begins, because even biblically and scientifically, there is debate on exactly when life begins. Right? Because this right here would mean that a large number of birth control options would be off the table for women. Right? Because not only are they saying that, the ways that women prevent pregnancy aren't okay and abortion's not okay, they're literally saying that women have to be baby factories, that they're not allowed not to get pregnant. Because I know a lot of birth controls prevent the egg from implanting, therefore, there's no pregnancy. So I've read. The next one. They want to amend the Constitution to regulate the wearing of arms with a view to prevent crime. Basically, from what I'm reading about this particular thing in their platform, is they want to make it to where you can carry any weapon, period, which you already kind of can, but they want to make sure that, they want to tell you that, hey, people are wearing their firearms like that, so, they'll prevent crime. There were 19 officers in Uvalde. They didn't prevent shit. Now on to where we were earlier, talking about the log cabin Republicans. Now, Republicans that happen to be gay, or any member of the LGBTQ community, listen up. They believe that they want to treat homosexuality as an abnormal lifestyle choice. We all know that it is biologic, right? It's biological. You were born the way you're born, right? That sexuality is on a spectrum of sorts. Okay? They've decided that it is a lifestyle choice. This has not been included previously in their platforms. At least not as of 2018. And I had not heard of it in their platforms, at least since I can remember. They went on to say that they want to deem gender identity disorder a genuine and extremely rare mental health condition requiring official documents to adhere to biological gender and allowing civil penalties and monetary compensation to detransitioners who have received gender-affirming surgery, which the platform calls a form of medical malpractice. Now, what you're going to notice there is they didn't talk about children. They didn't say for people under the age of 18. They basically want to ban sexual reassignment surgery or gender confirmation surgery, depending on the term you use, entirely as malpractice that a doctor can be sued for. Now, the thing is, when you're over 18 years old, and you make a choice for yourself, right? Now, I'm all about saying that I'm all supportive of saying that kids can't have gender affirming surgery, right? I understand that shouldn't happen until 17, 18 years old, or whatever the age of consent is in that state, right? And so that I understand. But now they want to impose that same thing on adults and the doctors that perform these surgeries? It is not medical malpractice to provide a service to somebody who feels they need it, right? Especially a surgery like that. Gender affirming surgery saves lives for a lot of people. It's also not cheap. That's why a lot of trans people don't even end up having the surgery. But that's what they decided. Is they decided that doctors should be able to be sued for performing the services if later in life the person decided that they didn't want it. But the thing is, you should have to sign document. I'm pretty sure you have to sign documentation that shows that you want the surgery, right? You do the surgery. You have to get consent. It's not like people are just running around. Doctors are running around the countryside, giving people gender surgeries, right? They're not just out there magically showing up in someone's bedroom and changing their genitalia. That's just not happening. But that's what this is what this would tell you they think happens, right? They want to label it a genuine and extremely rare mental health condition. Now, there is a mental health component. And that's why people go through years of therapy a lot of times, especially when they come out young. Right? A lot of therapy to find out if they actually are transgender. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Right? It's not that they just wake up at 5 or 6 years old and say, "Okay, I'm a girl," and then they go get surgery. That's not how that works. As I've said before, there is a there's protocol in place on how that works, from puberty blockers to hormones to surgeries. And so I do feel bad for those, though, that do transition and then decide that it wasn't right for them. Okay? And I understand that. I understand that it happens. And those people, if it was done by malpractice, like if it was caused by somebody else's negligence and somebody told them they were, or kind of forced it on them somehow or another, which there again doesn't happen. But I do feel bad for people who have who have transitioned and then try to transition back after having surgeries. Now, I do suggest that if you're going to do surgery, that you make sure that that is truly how you feel you need to progress. Make sure it's 100% what you feel like you need to do. Don't let society or anyone else tell you what you have to do. If you want to have gender affirming surgeries, have them. If you don't want to have gender affirming surgery, don't. You are still you regardless. It doesn't matter if you want to go male to female and you never have the surgery or vice versa. Right? You are still you. And that's all that matters. But if you're being you in Texas, get out before they come arrest you for trying to have a surgery. They want to change the U.S. Constitution to cement that the number of Supreme Court justices can only be 9 and repeal the 16th Amendment of 1913, which created the federal income tax. Now, that's always, that right there, the federal income tax thing, that's always there. It's almost a given anytime a Republican Party has a convention that that's going to be the case. So that's nothing new. They're going on to say they want to ensure freedom to travel by opposing Biden's clean energy plan and California-style anti-driver policies, including efforts to turn traffic lanes over for use by pedestrians and cyclists and mass transit. So providing a lane for cyclists, pedestrians, or mass transit in your city could become illegal in the state of Texas under this platform. Does that make any sense to you? Why would you not want, especially in congested downtown areas of cities like Dallas and Houston and Austin, why would you not want a set place for your buses to run? Why would you not want, if the city votes on it, and it approves it, right? If the city council votes on it, they give it up for referendum to the city, and people choose to have bike lanes in their city, they should be allowed to. What happened to freedom? You're talking about freedom here, but you're taking away freedom at the same time. If a city wants to have buses that have their own lane to drive through, great. But they're saying here that these are anti-driver. Are you still able to drive your damn car on the highway? Yeah. Guess what? Most cities don't even have this kind of stuff. But I come from a town called Nacogdoches, Texas. That's where I spent 20 plus years of my life. And over the course of the last 6 months, they have had 5 or 6, maybe even 8 fatalities in this small 30,000 resident city from bicyclists being hit by motorists. Not because the motorists are being evil, but because there's no place for them to go. There's no sidewalk for them to be on. There's no place for them to go, and there's no lane for them. Now that I live in Norman, Oklahoma, where I see bicycle lanes and pedestrian lanes and things like that in places around the college, you don't hear so much about those. They still happen from time to time, but not at the same rate. You're not looking at one almost every month or two, right? Of course, here comes the federal. They also say they want to abolish the Federal Reserve, which there again is normal. But what goes on with this party platform is they also say, and this is the first time that I've seen it actually as party, as part of the party platform. The Republican Party of Texas says they want to secede from the Union and will put it up to a referendum by 2023. And that is really the main part of my argument. I just read you a bunch of crazy stuff, right? That they're trying to do, that they want to do. Absolutely beyond crazy. Outside the realm of most anybody's sanity. And that's fine. If they want to have a crazy platform, that's fine. But to say you're going to secede from the Union and force people in your state who don't want to live in a different country to live in a different country, people are going to be missing all sorts of stuff. For example, Social Security. That money that covers health care in the state from the federal government, that's gone too. The federal money that helps fire departments and police departments, that's gone too. If you secede from the Union, you won't have military protection because our military will be recalled to its rightful country, the United States of America. When a hurricane hits the coast and destroys a city or floods the entirety of Houston, there'll be no federal funds for you. There'll be no FEMA. There'll be no American Red Cross. There'll be nobody there to help you. Because the biggest savings that Texas ever had was a $3 billion rainy day fund. And considering the damages from Harvey being, what was it, over 30 billion? I think it was even higher than that by the time they got done counting everything. The state's not going to be able to cover those things. They're not going to be able to cover, damages from fire, from a wildfire. They're not going to be able to help you when there's that giant sinkhole that opens up or that tornado rips through your house. You're literally going to be stuck out with no help for you. But at some time, there are points, though, where I believe that maybe we should just let them go. The state of Texas has become so far right that it makes no sense. It absolutely is completely insane. As I see it, calling for secession from the Union is one of the most un American things a state party could do. Even after all the funds the federal government sent to Texas for COVID, health care, food stamps. Texas is also one of those states that claims that they do so good on their own, but they get more money from the federal government than they send in to the federal government. Tell me that's not a problem. But people don't have to listen to me. They don't have to care. They don't have to have any notion of making sense. But unfortunately, that's how Texas is. And this is why they are the first episode of Me Versus. Because I believe the state of Texas might as well secede from the Union. If it wasn't for the fact that my mom was there, I wouldn't care at all. But I grew up loving that state. I loved everything about Texas. I loved my history. And so, even though I learned a lot of bad things about our history, I still loved the overall history. But unfortunately, they've gotten so far away from what I recognize as Texas that I can't support it anymore. And I guarantee you, if they secede from the Union, they will indeed become a Nazi state, and they will start putting people away in camps and that don't agree with their policies. If you're gay or trans, you're gonna be arrested on sight. This is how it's gonna go down, people. And you can tell me that I'm crazy, that I'm being alarmist, but I'm not. Texas will become a Nazi state where if you disagree with the government one iota, and people be like, well, we got the freedom of speech. No, you don't have freedom of speech. In Texas, under Texas law, you won't even have technically the right to carry unless they create a new amendment, right, to their constitution, which will have to be rewritten because most of it's intertwined with the federal government. But your freedom of speech rights and things like that, those aren't enshrined for you in the state of Texas. That's the federal constitution. But anyways, I think I've been rambling on enough about this, but that's the reason they are the first episode of Me Versus, because I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to think. I don't even know what to do with these people anymore. So just let them go. They'll come crawling back, to which the federal government will be like, no. Anyways, y'all have a great day, and I'll see you down the road.